Hello, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Well, another frustrating weekend in the life of being a Middlesbrough supporter. Obviously, we played Huddersfield at home on the weekend, and it was a match that ended in a 1-1 draw. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. As far as the channel's concerned, I'm really pleased with how it's going so far. So many of you are tuning in, certainly more than I thought would be at this point, and so definitely very appreciative of the support that I'm getting so far. Obviously, I do want to make these things to kind of be a bit informative and insightful for yourselves. So if you do have any suggestions of things that you'd like me to cover, or anything that you'd like me to discuss or anything like that, then please do reply in the comments and let me know what you'd like to hear about. If you are enjoying them, or if you're just kind of intrigued as to see what's going to be next, then please do like and subscribe to the channel as well. And it'd be my pleasure to keep these videos coming throughout the season. So back to the weekend, and then back to Saturday's clash against Huddersfield. It was it was a frustrating one. It was one where, once again, Middlesbrough kind of didn't look quite like the side that we'd learned to love and expect from last season. Michael Carrick's team last season were very fluent on the ball. Everything moving forward, it was passing in triangles. It was very pass and move. It was all very fluid indeed, and everyone knew their role. Everyone knew their responsibility, and everyone knew where their teammates would be. And although it was a bit of an improvement on the opening game of the season against Millwall, and certainly that second game against Coventry, it was still a game which didn't quite go to plan as far as Middlesbrough are concerned. But I think at the same time, it's worth putting it into a little bit of context in terms of the state of the team and the state of some of the transfers that came in. Obviously, last week was a difficult one in terms of quite a lot of transition in the playing squad. We had two notable arrivals, and we had one big exit. Obviously, Akpom left to go to Ajax, and once again, obviously that's a massive blow to Middlesbrough, given the 29 goals that he scored last season. But moving forward, Middlesbrough brought in Emmanuel, Lath from Atlanta, and they brought in Lukas, Engel, both players who started the game against Huddersfield at the weekend, and they both looked really impressive, to be honest. Engel came in at left back. He replaced Hayden Hackney in the starting lineup. And he showed what he was about, really. It probably wasn't his best performance. I think the best is certainly yet to come from him. But as far as the first appearance in the Championship's concerned, he looked dangerous. He looked to stay wide on that left-hand side. His first instinct is clearly to move forward with the ball, and him moving forward down the left flank allowed the other players in front of him to kind of cut inside, as we sort of saw last season with Ryan Giles and Riley McGree on that side. Obviously, yesterday it was Sammy Silvera who was playing in that position further up, and the impact of Engel at left back meant that he would occupy the left flank space, and that allowed Silvera to cut inside, kind of add like a man in the mix or outside the penalty area, and that certainly caused a few problems along the way. As for Lath, he came in, started up front, and he looked really lively. He's fast, he's energetic, he works really hard. His finishing, we probably didn't see the best of that yesterday. There was a couple of opportunities where he didn't really get his feet sorted in time, and kind of fluffed his lines a little bit, I guess, in front of goal. But once again, it was his first appearance for Middlesbrough, his first appearance in English football and in the Championship. So there will be an element of learning there, but certainly he's a player who looks like he's going to be a handful moving forward, and early signs are really promising with regards to both of those players. I think for the match itself, obviously a 1-1 draw in the end. Dale Fry's own goal gave Huddersfield the lead, and then Hayden Hackney's absolute slammer into the top corner made it 1-1, and what a goal that was. It's been a while since we've seen a goal of that quality at the Riverside from a player in a Middlesbrough shirt anyway. He looks like someone who is just really just kicked on with it in terms of confidence. Obviously, he had a great season last season. Became a first-team regular under Michael Carrick, and obviously this season he's gone into the campaign. He's taken the number 7 shirt. He's tipped by everyone to be obviously the regular starter. He's the one to watch in the Championship. Kind of a player who's going to make a real difference at the top of the table, is what everyone's sort of saying. And the worry is just if that's going to be too much pressure for him. But I think based on yesterday's performance, he's really stepping up to the plate and trying to make himself the kind of key man in Middlesbrough's midfield, and is doing a great job in doing that. So wasn't a perfect performance by him, but it wasn't a perfect performance by any of them, to be honest. And so it was the kind of game that was once again a little bit disjointed, but kind of left fans with a little bit more optimism than what they had after the first two games of the season. So I think with Engel and Lath in attack as well, they look promising. Morgan Rogers is starting to look more and more fluent in the system. Once again, not sure whether he's going to be the man to get 20 plus goals this season, but he does look like he's going to be a good addition for the team and someone who will chip in with a few, because he does keep getting into those dangerous positions and causing problems. The same can be said for Sammy Silvera as well. Missed another couple of blinding opportunities yesterday, but I think the glass half full side of that is that he's getting in those positions. It's his instinct to get into the box and get himself onto the 6-yard line when the ball's breaking down the right hand flank. So he's someone who will get goals over the course of the season. He clearly has that instinct for being in the right place at the right time, and so it'll be very interesting to see how many goals he can chip in with this season. So although it was a draw, it was the first point on the board, which is a positive. It's always good to get rid of that 0 next to your name. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was certainly a step forward. And I think with those two players on board, it kind of like, I don't know, draws a line under the transfer business that we've sort of done so far, because as far as I'm concerned, they're the two positions that were remaining that needed to be filled. I think in terms of numbers, I think Middlesbrough squad is probably about where you would expect it to be now. In terms of numbers, I think the positions, we've kind of got them all sort of covered. I think the question between now and the end of the transfer window will be about strengthening the quality within the other side. I still think that Middlesbrough may be 2, maybe even 3 players a little bit light in terms of quality. I think they could do with another striker or a number 10 to play in that sort of position. I think they could do with another player or sort of a number 8 kind of player. So I guess similar to a Riley McGree type, maybe on the right hand side. Someone who was similar to an Aaron Ramsey from last season, perhaps. Someone to kind of come in and add a little bit more creative spark in there. And a lot of fans are kind of talking about another deep-lying midfielder as well. Hayden Hackney looks brilliant. Johnny Howson's on his way back from injury as well. So he will once again, he'll play a big part this season. But I guess the question with Howson is, when is his age going to catch up with him? And although he seems to be a Benjamin Button type who doesn't seem to be aging at all, it will catch up with him at some point. And so it's kind of being prepared to make sure that we do have a top quality player to replace him. And probably in the long term, someone who will be looking to play alongside Hayden Hackney in that kind of role. So they're the 3 players that I'd expect Middlesbrough to try and target between now and the end of the transfer window. I don't think it's a case now of signing anyone at all costs. We're not desperate for players. I think, like I said, I think in terms of like from a numerical point of view and in terms of having cover for the entire squad, I think we are in a good position. We look decent at the moment, but I think if we are going to be challenging for promotion, a lot of people tipped us for automatic promotion at the start of the season. I'm still not quite sold on that. In terms of the top 6, I think that's a more realistic expectation. But even then, I think with the squad the way it is at the moment, I think we're just lacking that little bit of quality. Those sort of match winners who can come in and bag those crucial goals or step up in those big moments and kind of have the sort of the kind of arrogance to step up in those moments of need and really make the game their own. They're the kind of players that we're kind of missing. And so I think between now and the end of the transfer window, that's something that we'll be looking to do a lot more of. I think the loan market will be huge for that. I can't really see Middlesbrough spending vast sums of money on any more players. If they do, it might be players from the continent, similar to Engel and Latte, who came in as well. But I think the main market that we'll be looking to explore will be the Premier League loan market. So that always moves a little bit slower during the course of the summer, because Premier League teams, they like to take stock of the players that they've got in their group. So when players tend to report back for duty at the start of July, a lot of these talented young players, they go off on the pre-season tours with the first team, so the managers can suss them out, see how they've progressed, that sort of thing, and basically kind of see whether there's an opportunity for them in their squad. But now that the Premier League season's up and running, managers in the top flight, they do kind of have an idea of what they're looking to do, and so they can see which players are going to be surplus to requirements, which players can be cashed in on, which players could maybe just benefit with another season out on loan. And so that's kind of where we are at the moment. So I think between now and the end of the transfer window, you'll see a lot more movement between the Premier League and the Championship. I think there'll be a lot more of these players dropping down from the Premier League and coming on loan in the Championship. Obviously, with Middlesbrough, we saw it last year, particularly in January, with Cameron Archer and Aaron Ramsey coming from Aston Villa. I don't think, Aaron Ramsey's gone to Burnley, and Cameron Archer looks like he's going to be going on a permanent basis for a fee that's going to be way beyond what Middlesbrough can look to afford. So I'm not talking about those two specifically, but it'll be those kind of players, those kind of highly rated Premier League players who are looking for an opportunity to shine in the second tier. And they'll be the sorts of people that Middlesbrough are looking to sign this summer. So, as I mentioned, probably another striker as a priority, and a central midfielder as well, maybe with a more creative type coming in as well. But I think it's going to be a busy couple of weeks. I think if we do manage to bring in any more players, I think that would also pave the way for a few players to head out on loan. We've spoken before about Josh Coburn. He's someone who is likely to head out on loan. Probably not just yet. Probably takes another striker to come in through the door to add competition up top for him to be allowed to leave, and then there'll be other players from the under-23s who'll be allowed to move on as well. But at the moment, I think because our squad is quite tight, I do think there's the numbers there, but I do think it's a little bit tight at the moment, and so Carrick might be a little bit reluctant to let those players move on just yet. So again, that might be something to watch as we move into the final couple of weeks of the transfer window. So it's going to be an exciting couple of weeks. I think the last week was a real one of progress in terms of the two players coming in and bringing an end to the Tuba Akpom uncertainty, which didn't help anyone around the club whatsoever. It was good to get that done and dusted and get these two players in who clearly have filled the two spots that were most desperate to be filled during the summer transfer window. So I think it's excitement moving on from here. I think on the pitch we're not looking perfect, but we are a team who are starting to gel. And I think over the next couple of weeks, now that we've kind of got the core group together, I guess that's something which hopefully will improve week on week, and we can start to get some wins on the board and push towards what will hopefully be another promotion challenge this season. So that's just a little bit of a roundup of where we're at the moment. I will obviously catch up with you in the next few days, and hopefully for 3 points on the board, or maybe even a new signing or two, who knows, but I will catch up with you soon.